When I think in my own life about where faith and money intersect, it's really when I make large purchases, when I'm deciding to buy a car, the kind of house I live in, those kinds of things, because that's what ties up a long period of my life around money. Those are the big spots for me.
The Nymphos icon is the bridegroom icon, and it's Jesus not feeling sad for himself, but those are eyes of sadness for the world. And the sadness is the world's situation, not just the globe, but the people on it. This fundraising work we're doing together is about opening up the conversation that is currently sort of closed off because people are having trouble having that conversation. They're having trouble being open and honest and transparent and loving with each other. And we need to open that conversation up so that it's not as fear-based, and so that we can just have, get the help we need to have wellness in our financial and giving lives, just like we have wellness in other aspects of our life. It's the icon of the first 3 days of Holy Week, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. It's Mark's Gospel. It's Matthew's Gospel. And it's the thing I love about this moment in the Passion of Jesus is the great thing about an icon, a well-written icon, is the eyes. And in this icon, Jesus is not sad for himself. Jesus is sad for the situation. And there's such a difference between sadness and situational sadness. And Jesus is sad for the situation in which he finds himself and to which he's called and out of which he will be resurrected. And I bring it up because I want to mention the two cancers of the spiritual life which tend to distract us as we build mission in our churches and in our lives. And the two great cancers of the spiritual life, as I know you already know, are nostalgia and fantasy. I define spirituality as a relentless seeking after and expressing of truth, and so nostalgia and fantasy are the two great untruths, right? So nostalgia is the lies of the past, and fantasy are the lies of the present and the future. And it's amazing how easily they creep into our own spiritual lives and in the lives of our vestries and bishops' committees and diocesan work. And it's extremely important to move away from them as you're building the vision for the fundraising that you're doing, the vision for the mission, which will be funded by the gifts that you're raising. You can tell we sort of made a shift here, a tonal shift into praxis. This is a praxis vestibule, so hold on. We're about it's going to be fasten your seatbelts, boys. It's going to be a bumpy ride. Some movie star said that. I can't remember who. Betty Davis, thank you. And fantasy and nostalgia. Nostalgia is the lies of the past, and if they creep into mission and vision, either individually or corporately, they will slow us down, and they will sound and be inauthentic to the people from whom we're speaking. To whom we're speaking about money and giving. The good old days is usually an example. Any good old days, because they're not all good. They were a mixed bag. But it's fantasy to think, it's nostalgia to think that they were the good old days. They were a mixture of the good old days and the not so good old days, you know? My sister really loves those old World War II tunes, Cliffs of Dover and things like that from England. And one day she said something in front of my mother like, I wish we could just go back to those good old days as we were listening to this song, and my mother reared up like mothers do, and she tightened her grip on her chair, and she said, "My dear, I was there after the war, and we were eating my bunny for dinner. It wasn't the good old days. It just feels like them to you." And so, fantasy, the lies of the present and the lies of the future. It's very important to be attentive to these things, because they will deeply affect how you do church. And so I always start with this conversation about nostalgia and fantasy, because they are blocks to moving forward in discerning mission and ministry and vision. And they are also blocks in terms of having these conversations. Our people don't talk about money is both cancers at the same time. It's like a bouquet of cancer. It's the final explosion of fireworks version of going out with a bang. It is horrifically untrue. They are dealing with money. They are touching their checkbook or their credit card more often than they are touching their prayer book. I promise you. They're talking a lot about money. They're just ashamed to talk about it in church. So the problem's not them, actually. The problem is the hospitality of the church. Why don't they feel safe to talk about it? Why aren't they being given the opportunity to talk about it? Why aren't they being encouraged to have a conversation about it?